Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is a case on Lynette White. It was suggested by one of you guys, so thank you for that. I appreciate any suggestions you guys have, and if you have any more, please do let me know. I just want to say that this case is actually from Australia, because when you actually Google the name Lynette White, another case comes up, which I believe is well, it must be an English case or a Welsh case, because it comes up about 3 men who was wrongfully convicted of a murder of Lynette White they did not commit. And they're known as the Cardiff 3. So I might actually do a video on that at some point because it sounded really interesting. However, I would like to spread more word of this case because obviously when you search up that name, that one comes up predominantly. So yeah, let's get into it. So Lynette White was from Sydney, Australia. She was just a lovely, happy, bubbly woman. She was a hairdresser. She owned her own salon. And she was also a hula dancer, which she was very good at. She was just a beautiful person inside and out. And then she met the love of her life. He was called Paul White. She met him. They started dating. They fell head over heels for each other. And before long, well, not before too long, they were both married. So they began their life together. Not long after that, she was pregnant. So they were expecting a new baby to make their family as well. Now, Lynette started receiving some strange phone calls. This was after their baby was born, I do believe. They were just such a happy little family. Everyone liked them. You know, she was the kind of person that everyone gravitated towards and made tons of friends. Everyone knew who she was and everyone really liked her. But she started getting these strange phone calls that were very unpleasant, to say the least. I'm not going to tell you everything that was sort of said, but one of the things was like, I'm going to get you kind of thing. And also threats towards the little one, which I'm not going to repeat because they're just too awful. But yeah, she told Paul about these. He didn't really take them, neither of them did take them too seriously. She didn't tell him all of what was said, apparently. I believe she told one of her friends, though. But they just figured it was some idiot, just, I don't know, prank call him, empty threats, didn't really think that it meant anything. And therefore, they didn't really call the police or anything like that, because they weren't worried about it. But in speaking to her friends, they just said, you know, just be extra careful, make sure you lock your door all the time, check before you open it and things like that, which Lynette did start doing. So on one occasion, somebody actually knocked on the door. She looked through the peepee hole thing and she finds this man basically exposing himself to her, which is just disgusting, and you little creep, just go away, weirdo. But yeah, that's what she had to be faced with. And so she didn't like that, not that anyone would. But then we're going to skip to Friday, the 8th of June in 1973. The day began like any other normal day. Until it wasn't, sadly. And that's where I come in. Obviously, I wouldn't be here telling this if it wasn't the case, unfortunately. Anyway, Paul kissed Lynette goodbye because he was heading to work in the morning. Now, Lynette obviously had a baby to look after. She stayed at home. I believe he was 11 months at this point. I think. Yeah, he was. He was 11 months old at the time. And so he goes off to work. Lynette would normally do things like take him for a walk in the pram, do housework, ironing, just general things, looking after the house and the baby. So he did call. Paul did try to ring her during the day. She didn't answer. But, you know, maybe she was out on a walk. Maybe she was busy doing something and just didn't have the chance to answer or didn't hear the phone. No big deal. So he gets home at 7:30. And there is a big deal at this point because the door is slightly ajar. Now, like I said, Lynette was very cautious about leaving the door open. So that was strange straight away and worried him immediately. So he goes inside and he sees some sort of legs sticking out of the bedroom area. He rushes over. And he sees blood everywhere. He comes across a horrific sight. There's blood everywhere. This is where the baby sleeps as well. So, yeah, the baby was in the cot. Didn't have any injuries or anything, thank goodness. But poor Lynette was sadly deceased. She had a slash to her throat and had been stabbed, I believe, 11 times. Of course, Paul tried his best to basically see if there was anything he could do, but at this point she was cold. You know, she was deceased. There was nothing he could have done. And so he did bring the emergency services and the police because Lynette had been murdered. As I've said before about Lynette not keeping the door shut and locked and stuff, it's kind of thought that maybe she knew the person, because why else would she open the door to this person? There was no sign of forced entry whatsoever, but like I said, the door was slightly open, so it's as if Lynette actually let this person in, so maybe she just knew them, who knows? Her body was also found half naked, so they assumed like it was a sexually motivated crime. The police came round and the murder investigation began. And let me tell you, it's still ongoing basically, because it's still not solved, sadly. They looked into everything, tried to do all the research that they could to figure out who had done this to Lynette. Like I say, they also assumed that she knew whoever this was. And they did find a smashed glass of water on the floor. So they're assuming that maybe she knew this person, she let them in, and they wanted a glass of water, or she offered them one, she went to get one, and then they attacked her. And obviously the glass ended up smashing. So let me tell you about this as well. She also got a delivery that day. It was a delivery of nappies. The delivery person knocked on the door, but got no answer and was just about to leave, but then they heard this like bang inside. That is thought to be Lynette basically fighting this person off and fighting for her life. So the delivery driver sort of knocked again, once more received no response, and then left the nappies on the front door, which is where everyone found them. They were, I believe, around that area anyway, and they found that the nappies had been ripped open and were covered in blood. So it was as if whoever did this basically opened them to sort of get the blood off the hands as they're leaving, or something. And police did door-to-door inquiries. They had suspects. They ruled those suspects out. Somebody reported that they'd seen a young man leaving the block around the time of Lynette's murder. And obviously they gave a description of that person. Paul wanted that to be spread far and wide because he was really worried that this person may come back or may do this again. Now, interestingly enough, one of Paul's and Lynette's neighbours, and this was like the next day, she was called Marie. She lived close by to them. And she was attacked and murdered too. It's not really known whether these are actually linked or not, but it's whether it's just coincidental. It's a big coincidence that two women are killed sort of in that area. Very unlucky area, I suppose. And I feel awful on these poor women. I really do hope that one day their cases can be solved. Whether they are linked or not, like I said, we don't know. Although there were suspicions that they were. Like I said, there's not a lot of information on this case, so whether there were sort of links to them or not, something was similarly done, I don't actually know. I do know, though, that it really scared everyone. Of course it did. You know, not just one murder, but two. Wow. Lynette's mother would really help to raise her son, which is a really nice thing. And her and Paul would grow very close over the years. But those years have continued to pass by, and we still have no idea who did this to her. Paul did which I've read, and he was going on about how he feels envious of these people who maybe have not envious, well, kind of, just hear me out, okay? So other people who have their cases solved and the family that get that closure, that's what he feels envious of, in a way, that they have a name put to the person who's killed their loved one or done whatever to their loved one, and say, I don't know, they're now serving time in jail or whatever. That's all he wants. He just wants Lynette's case to be solved for himself, for all of their family, for her son. And that's what we all want. So I really hope that this case gets spread very far and wide. There's not many videos on it at all. I think I found maybe one. It's just really, really sad and heartbreaking. And she was literally 26 years old and she was murdered in her own home. And we just don't know why. I genuinely hope it gets solved one day. But for now, this case remains unsolved. And that is the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs up. And if you didn't, well, you could give it a thumbs down if you really wanted to. But yeah, that is the end of Lynette White's case. And I cannot remember what I normally do again. And so I'm just going to say something like until next time, bye, because I think that's something otherwise. Anyway, bye.